the West African bloc, ECOWAS says it is activating a rapid response force for Niger in order to restore normalcy, but just ahead of its meeting in Ghana's capital to discuss the final plan for the deployment and hammer out what a military intervention in Niger may look like, the African Union and the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS as we said, appear to be at odds with one another on whether military action should be on the table or not. Members of ECOWAS began the two-day meeting in Accra to decide on the next course of action if diplomacy fails to achieve its objective. Meanwhile, the African Union, opposing any military action, also met in Addis Ababa. A report by the French newspaper Le Monde, citing diplomatic sources who attended the African Union meeting on Monday, said the group disagreed with ECOWAS and said it was fiercely against any military intervention. While Niger's junta says it is open to talks to resolve the situation, it is still detaining the deposed President Mohamed Bazoum. It has even said it will prosecute him for high treason. The European Union, the United States, the UN and the African Union have all expressed concern over this. At the same time, supporters of Niger's junta are calling for mass mobilization of citizens against the threat of military action. Several civilian groups are calling volunteers from across the country to register their support to the country's armed forces. As per reports, the junta is aware of the call for mobilization but has not involved itself in the recruitment drive while it is set to begin from Saturday. Military intervention, if it takes place, could destabilize Africa's Sahel region, which is one of the poorest regions in the world. Niger has also so far acted as a bulwark against Islamist insurgency in the region for the West, and also has a strategic importance given its uranium and oil deposits. US, France, Germany and Italy have troops in the country. Therefore, countries continue to engage with Niger to restore normalcy. The US ambassador to Niger is expected to arrive in the country later this week.
It is a signal of the United States' continued engagement in this situation. It is not a signal of any change in U.S. policy as it relates to the circumstances in Niger. We have been quite clear of what we want to see happen. We want to see President Bazoum and his family released.
Right, and Nabil Ahmed Rufai is now joining us from Ghana for the very latest on the developments that are taking place in Niger. And Nabil, now there seems to be some disagreement between the African Union and ECOWAS on what are the next logical steps for action in Niger. Tell us a little bit more about that, even as ECOWAS says there is a standby force in place.
Well, indeed, here in Accra at the Bema camp, where the Ghana Armed Forces base is located, at least 9 Chief of Defense staff across West Africa are locked up in a meeting discussing the operational plan for the standby force if it should be activated to go to Niger. Now, earlier when the opening ceremony was done, one of the members at this meeting, that's the Commissioner of Political Affairs and Peace and Security, that's Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa, he actually talked tough in terms that indeed ECOWAS is ready to mobilize its troops to go to Niger to intervene in the situation over there and reinstate Mohamed Bazoum to power and also, go back to constitutional order. That is the clarion call. So this meeting is just to allow them plan in readiness for any signal from the leaders as to when they should go into Niger with the military intervention. But now they've also said that they are open for further negotiations with the junta leader. If he would meet them, they would want to also have a meeting with him to discuss how they would return the country to a civilian rule. But at the end of the day, this meeting is just to give them a roadmap as to how they'll be able to mobilize their logistics and also any financial capital to be able to fund whatever operation that may become necessary if the junta leader does not really heed to their call to return to constitutional order. So this meeting is expected to end on Friday, where the chiefs would release a communique as to what they finally decided to do going forward.
Right. Nabil, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the very latest there. Clearly that impasse continues on what the possible action is in Niger.